A tsundere is, in very general terms, a somewhat bossy, hard-to-please, easily angered character who, on very rare occasions, shows a softer, more romantic kind of side, in stark contrast to their usual behavior. Now, tsundere characters, by and large, are nothing new. Like, they've been around longer than the very overused trope that is the moe blob. But it's rare to find characters that just fit the trope so well. Today's show takes the standard tsundere character and slams it into a traditional anime romance, and, as would be expected, chaos ensues. Ladies, gentlemen, and others, my name is Arcada, and welcome to Glass Reflection today. Toradora. Let's jam. Welcome to Generic Japanese High School number 3487, where we lay our scene. The players are a common group of high school students who all, as to be expected, have one or two major defining traits. They live their lives in the blissful time that is their adolescence, and nothing ever goes wrong. I realize I just set that up, so now would be a perfect time to say something like, and then the Fire Nation attacked. But no, today our characters live in a quirky, slice-of-life romance anime. See, now, stories in romance anime either tend to be rather simplistic, or virtually non-existent, instead relying on one-off episode plotlines that may or may not further along the main romance. But good romance anime all tend to have some kind of twist to them. The twist for Toradora, at least on the onset, is that our main characters don't like each other. They are instead quite smitten with each other's best friend. Because of this, after a series of events involving high school vandalism and attempted burglary, the two reluctantly agreed to help each other with their problems. A dual Cupid scenario, if you will. The fun part for the viewer in this is in knowing damn well that the relationships that they are trying to throw together will never work. If they were going to work, the show would be focusing on just one of the relationships for the most part, as it would be the quote-unquote main relationship. The other would be non-existent, or heavily toned down. Now, this twist might sound similar to another common twist. You may have experienced a romance plotline where the main protagonist likes a girl, and through happenstance or what have you, another girl finds out about it and agrees to help him get a date. Lots of shenanigans happen, and eventually the guy no longer wants to be with the girl he was originally pining over, but rather the girl that was helping him all along. This plotline is something that could turn out to be something very sweet, tragic, or something that just needs to die in a fire. Seriously, like, jeez. Wheel of Archetypes. Turn, turn, turn. Tell us the trope that we should learn. Toradora absolutely refuses to play any traditional trope straight, like, at all. There's not a single main character who's not a flip of what we would normally consider to be stereotypical. Our main male lead, Ryuji, doesn't necessarily fall under one individual trope per se. That said, however, the closest feature to a trope would be his rather scary outward demeanor. Without even trying, his face can easily resemble one of a very angry, very pissed off thug, leading him to not being able to have many relationships with his classmates, as they are all unintentionally scared of him. Couple that with his almost freakish need to keep things clean and tidy, and what you have is a rather normal high school student that is just trying to live his life. Well, normal for anime anyways. Next up is the Palm Top Tiger, Taiga, an infamous being known for her quick temper and small stature. Yeah, let's go with that. Equipped with the well-worn traits of the token tsundere, Taiga is where the majority of the series' entertainment stems from. Because the thing about having a tsundere character in the role of the main female lead is that a large amount of the show's conflict is something that could either be easily resolved or just non-existent with any other character. And this is generally because of their traditional, stubborn nature. I feel like I'm talking about tsunderes like there's some kind of wild animal, and I'm in a documentary that happens to be narrated by David Attenborough. The main credit I give her, though, is that she's actually a lot quicker on jumping onto the actual romantic plot train of the story. At least more so than I would have expected. Though in truth, I really shouldn't have been surprised, because if she didn't, we wouldn't have had the moments that just made us want to scream, "It's not like she likes him or anything! Baka!" The supporting cast is small but memorable in their own way. The reverse romantic love interests are their own double-edged swords. Minori comes off as the overenthusiastic Genki girl of the group, the one who's like team captain of every sports team, the one who holds 50 different part-time jobs. Of course, the majority of this is just a facade behind which a rather small and lonely girl tries to cope with herself while doing her best to make sure her friends are happy. On the other side, you have Yusaku, who on the onset looks to be a traditional nerd, but one who is very comfortable in social scenarios, hence being the student council vice president. Contrary to his regular appearance, though, he's quite self-confident, even going so far as to nonchalantly walk into a room occupied by members of the opposite gender, withholding nothing but a hand towel. Keeping in mind, though, that this is anime, and it was one of those weird situations where the traditional pervert reaction was not used, which in and of itself is a testament to the relationships people have with him. Lastly, we have a childhood friend character who becomes the show's mysterious transfer student who, I'm so sorry, I was showing footage of the school's student council president and not the character of Ami. Sorry, my mistake. In my defense, however, they look freaking identical. Anyways, Ami pops into the story as an attempted temporary piece of a romance triangle thing, as she is the childhood friend of Yusaku and therefore a barrier to Taiga's desired relationship with him, as well as a wrench in another relationship by taking an interest in Ryuji. Adding fuel to the fire, she is kind of a girl that likes to act all lovable and innocent, at least to those she cares about, but then is an outright bitch to those she doesn't. So those are the players, and this is the game we observe. But how does the show look? Find out after this unnecessary distortion of visual effects! The animation of this show, I think, can be described as a tram that's slowly driving up a beautiful mountain. At the beginning, you see flickering moments of utter beauty, like you're just witnessing the top of the mountain from afar. Though most of it is rather plain and ordinary, you know, the bottom of the mountain, not that great. This is until, of course, you get closer to the top. It's full of bright, colorful characters and environments, but likes to play it safe throughout the majority of the series. There are lots of conversation scenes with little to no animation, instead saving the actual animation budget for the times when they would have the greatest effect. The soundtrack for the series could be considered rather generic, especially for the kind of series that Toradora is. Lots of acoustic guitar played with the backing of strings for added effect. The show has an extremely catchy first opening song that, as usual, made me scream in anger and then sink into depression when it got replaced at the halfway point by another OP that's, well, in my opinion, not as good. And most importantly, I would be rather remiss, however, if I did not bring special attention to some moments where the soundtrack really shines. Sometimes I wonder if people forget that the music is supposed to bring its own special something to a show, rather than just fill in the silence. And nothing better in Toradora proves that they didn't forget, like the track called Lost My Pieces, especially when it's played just at the right moment. It creates this kind of thing that makes fans of the show tear up a little afterwards, just from listening to the song alone, and that kind of thing is very powerful, my friend. Now, originally, the show was released on DVD without a dub, but thanks to somebody's supreme judgment, the re-release of the show on Blu-ray and DVD now contains one. But now, to me, here's the thing. One of the biggest parts, I think, to Taiga's personality was her voice in Japanese. That voice acting there is the closest thing humanity has ever come to pure audio tsundere. That said, the English did not do that horribly. I cannot stand here and say that the English dub is a horrible mess that should never be experienced, because that plainly would not be true. Fans of watching English dubbed anime will be pleased because it is a rather brilliant dub. Personally, though, for me, I will continue watching in Japanese. But feel free to do as you like. I can't say that all fans of romance will enjoy this anime. However, I personally really did, because it has aspects to it that are rather niche in anime. I can say, however, that if you did heavily enjoy more fantasy-esque romance anime, like anything by Key, so Canon, Clanad, then more often than not, you will probably enjoy Toradora. There are parts of it that aren't great. Some forced humor, an over-reliance on Taiga's personality, which, if you don't like it, is a very negative thing. I feel very strongly about Toradora because it does do the one thing that romance anime, to me, doesn't do that often. It ends beautifully. Not absolutely, by God, perfectly, mind you, but so much better than the norm. None of this fussing around, ending on a relationship that only got as far as holding hands. None of that. While it may not be the most satisfying ending to a romance anime I've seen in recent time, it is definitely up there, and I appreciate that so much. And so it is with deepest pride and greatest pleasure that I can happily award Toradora with a solid buy it rating, as it has its quirks that might turn some people away. But for those of you not scared away or annoyed by our diverse cast, you should have an experience that is heavily enjoyable. At the time of this video, Toradora has been licensed and is available on DVD and Blu-ray, as I previously mentioned, by NIS America. Also, fun fact is that the entire series in both dub and sub is available on Crunchyroll if you happen to have access to that site, though anything beyond episode 6 will require you to be part of their premium service, which you can get a free trial of if you go to the following link: crunchyroll.com/glassreflection. It's reversed this time, but anime awesomeness abounds. Now, for ultimate anime recommendations, I could point you towards other tsundere-heavy shows, like Familiar of Zero or Shakugan no Shana, but honestly, I'm gonna start with a curveball and recommend The Melancholy of Haruhi Suzumiya, if by chance you haven't watched it yet, as I saw many similarities between the two, and if you remove the majority of the supernatural occurrences that Haruhi has to offer, they're fairly similar. Now, to follow that up, let's go with a somewhat lesser-known quirky romance anime by the name of Nodame Cantabile. I'm not gonna describe this one and instead just tell you to go watch it. It's just great. And between those two, you should hopefully find something to your liking. And that's it from me. Please subscribe if you enjoyed the video. Follow me on Twitter if you feel so inclined. And hey, if you like what I do here and feel like helping out, please go and check out my Patreon page. And if you feel it within your heart, consider donating. Very special thanks to Tyler Morse for donating already. You have like 50 points in awesomeness, good sir. And like, I have books on this. Like, this is Trigon, but I have like D&D and probably Exalted and stuff, and they all have awesomeness stats, even though it's probably not actually written in the book, but it's there and you have it. So, good for you. And so, until next time, ladies, gentlemen, and others, stay frosty.